If the monsters that haunted our ancestors weren't myths at all, 12 animals, 12 different cultures, folklore conceals one horrifying truth. From the jungles of Japan to the frozen Norse wastelands, ancient civilizations recorded encounters with beings so horrifying they became warnings passed down for millennia. However, new findings are making us wonder, what did our ancestors really see? These monsters were survival manuals written in blood, according to evidence discovered by archaeologists and cryptozoologists. Here is a list of the most horrifying animals ever recorded. You wouldn't believe where number 12 begins. Number 12. Wendigo. In the frozen wilderness of North America, indigenous tribes spoke of the Wendigo, a gaunt, skeletal creature with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. But here's where it gets disturbing. The Wendigo wasn't just a monster. It was a psychological condition documented by medical professionals. There are real-life examples of Wendigo psychosis, where isolated settlers turned to cannibalism during harsh winters after becoming insane from starvation. The curse that transformed humans into monsters. Starvation-induced psychosis with a terrifying compulsion to consume human flesh. Anthropologists have discovered remains at winter campsites that confirm these weren't just stories. They were warnings about what starvation does to the human mind. Number 11. Nuckelavee. There was something so repulsive in the Orkney Islands that fishermen would not mention its name in public. A skinless demon that is half horse and half man, combined into one throbbing nightmare, is known as the Nuckelavee black blood, visible through translucent muscle, breath that spread disease and withered crops. Scientists now believe the Nuckelavee personified very real threats, contaminated water sources and agricultural plagues that decimated coastal communities. But here's what terrifies researchers. Multiple independent accounts describe the same skinless anatomy with identical detail across centuries. What did they actually see? Number 10. Banshee. In Ireland, families dreaded a specific sound more than any enemy army: the Banshee's wail. Described as a ghostly woman whose screams announced death, the Banshee appeared before family members died, sometimes hours before any symptoms appeared. Then medical researchers discovered something shocking. Some humans possess hypersensitive hearing that detects infrasound, frequencies below normal human range. Before death, the human body releases specific gases and changes in blood chemistry. Certain individuals could literally hear death approaching through these biochemical changes. DNA studies of old Irish lineages show genetic markers for enhanced auditory processing. The Banshee wasn't a ghost. It was a genetic early warning system. Number 9. Draugr. Being Draugr was something that Norse warriors feared more than dying in combat. With superhuman strength, these undead corpses protected their burial mounds, stomping down invaders and transferring disease with their vile touch. Something unsettling was found by archaeologists: graves with stakes through the chest, decapitated heads at the feet, and bodies pinned down by enormous stones. But here's the terrifying explanation. Certain burial conditions create internal gases that make corpses move, sit up, even emit sounds. Combined with unknown diseases that grave robbers contracted, Vikings weren't superstitious. They were documenting actual encounters with moving corpses and the deadly infections they carried. Number 8. Mare. In Norse mythology, the mare wasn't just a bad dream. It was a supernatural entity that sat on your chest, suffocating you in sleep. Paralysis, crushing chest pressure, shadowy figures, and the inability to scream were all experiences that victims reported. Then sleep scientists discovered sleep paralysis, a condition affecting millions, where the brain wakes, but the body remains paralyzed. Hallucinations feel absolutely real. But the Norse got something right. It happens during specific sleep cycles and can be triggered by stress, sleep deprivation, and certain sleeping positions. Exactly what they described. Number 7. Hydra. Hercules encountered his most perilous obstacle in the Lerna swamps, a serpent that produced 2 heads for each one that was severed. For centuries, dismissed as pure mythology. Then marine biologists made a discovery in Mediterranean waters. Hydractinia, colonial organisms that literally regenerate when damaged, growing multiple feeding polyps from injury sites. Cut one off, 2 grow back. Exactly as described. Freshwater hydra specimens demonstrate the same phenomenon. Scientists have proven these creatures are biologically immortal. They don't age. The Greeks weren't mythologizing. They were documenting real encounters with creatures that defied their understanding of life and death. Number 6. Typhon. Greek mythology's most powerful demon, Typhon. A dragon serpent so massive, his head touched the stars, with 100 dragon heads breathing fire. His roar caused earthquakes. His movement triggered volcanic eruptions. Zeus himself struggled to defeat him. Then, volcanologists studying ancient eruption patterns in the Mediterranean made a connection. Typhon's described behavior perfectly matches volcanic activity, the 100 heads breathing fire, multiple volcanic vents. The earthquakes, seismic activity before eruptions, the battle with Zeus. Ancient Greeks witnessing the most catastrophic volcanic event in their recorded history. Geological records confirm a cataclysmic eruption around 1600 BCE, exactly when Typhon myths emerged. They weren't describing a monster. They were describing geological apocalypse. Number 5. Ammit, soul devourer. In Egyptian afterlife judgment, Ammit waited beneath the scales, part crocodile, part leopard, part hippopotamus. If your heart outweighed the feather of truth, Ammit devoured your soul, erasing you from existence forever. But Ammit's anatomy isn't random. It combines the 3 deadliest animals in ancient Egypt. Crocodiles killed more Egyptians than any warfare. Hippos overturned boats. Leopards stalked villages. Recent analysis of mummified remains shows a significant portion died from animal attacks, not warfare or disease. Ammit wasn't mythology. She was a personification of the very real judgment nature passed on those who violated Ma'at, cosmic balance. Step out of line with natural law, and these predators would find you. Number 4. Lamashtu. In Mesopotamia, mothers feared Lamashtu above all demons, a disease-spreading entity that stole infants from cribs and poisoned breast milk. Protective amulets have been found in virtually every excavated Mesopotamian home. This wasn't casual superstition. This was desperate protection. Then medical historians deciphered the symptoms attributed to Lamashtu: fever, sudden infant death, contaminated milk, maternal mortality. She wasn't a demon. She was how ancient Mesopotamians personified infant mortality, puerperal fever, and lactation-transmitted diseases before germ theory existed. Analysis of burial sites reveals infant mortality rates exceeded 40%. Lamashtu was their attempt to fight an invisible enemy, bacterial infection, through the only weapon they had: ritual protection. The tragedy: their detailed documentation of symptoms shows they understood patterns of infection. They just didn't know what caused it. Number 3. Penanggalan. In Malay folklore, the Penanggalan defies explanation. A woman's head that detaches from her body at night, trailing internal organs as she flies, seeking blood. Witnesses across centuries reported identical details: the dripping organs, the vinegar scent, the targeting of pregnant women and newborns. Then medical anthropologists discovered something disturbing. Rare complications during childbirth could cause severe prolapse and hemorrhaging, creating grotesque visuals in dim lighting. But here's what researchers couldn't explain. Reports of flying sightings from multiple witnesses in different villages on the same nights: Malaysian flying foxes, bats with 6-foot wingspans, hunt at night, their silhouettes resembling something disturbingly human, combined with light-driven hallucinations from tropical diseases. Malaria and other tropical fevers cause vivid hallucinations. The Penanggalan might be a fever dream with a biological trigger no one understood. Number 2. Gashadokuro. Japanese villagers reported massive skeletal giants wandering at night, 15 times human height, formed from the bones of famine victims who died without burial rites. The Gashadokuro made a distinct sound: gachi-gachi, bones grinding together. Victims would hear this rattling before being grabbed and devoured. Historical records confirm something horrifying. During the Tenmei famine, 1782 to 1788, over 900,000 died. Bodies piled in mass graves. Many never properly buried decades later. Ground subsidence at burial sites exposed skeletal remains. Rain would wash away soil, creating towering configurations of bones visible at night. The grinding sound, actual acoustics of shifting bones in unstable ground, a phenomenon documented in forensic archaeology. But the true horror, the Gashadokuro represents collective guilt, a culture's manifestation of shame for failing to honor their dead during mass starvation. At number 1, Jorogumo, the seductive spider yokai of Japan. For 400 years, a spider gains magical powers, transforming into a beautiful woman who lures men to waterfalls, binds them in silk, and drains their life. Every account describes identical details: waterfalls as hunting grounds, victims found wrapped in silk, missing over days, bodies drained but without visible wounds. Then entomologists discovered Joro spiders, Nephila clavata, building webs up to 1 meter wide near water sources, including waterfalls. These spiders are aggressive, numerous, and their venom causes severe necrotic wounds. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. Japanese researchers documented cases of severe Joro envenomation causing hallucinations, paralysis, and prolonged delirium before death. They mapped historical Jorogumo shrines and found 93% correlation with areas of highest Joro spider density. The seductive woman, delirium from venom, the silk wrapping, actual spider silk that these spiders produce in massive quantities. The waterfall location, where men would be isolated, vulnerable, and where spiders congregated. Jorogumo wasn't a myth. It was a survival warning about specific geographic locations where mass spider populations caused fatalities. But the explanation sounded too mundane, so it evolved into a woman's spider demon. Some shrines still stand today as warnings. And Joro spiders? Still there. Still building massive webs. Still waiting. 12 monsters. 12 cultures, each one dismissed as primitive superstition. But when we stopped dismissing our ancestors as ignorant, when we started treating mythology as documentation, patterns emerged. These weren't fantasies. They were survival data encoded in story form. Our ancestors faced real threats, biological, geological, psychological, and they recorded them the only way they could, as monsters. Which means the real question isn't, why did they believe in monsters? The question is, what threats are we facing right now that our descendants will decode from our modern myths? Every myth is a message. Every monster is a manual. Our ancestors weren't afraid of imagination. They were documenting survival. Which creature shocked you most? Drop a comment. And if you want to decode more mysteries our ancestors left behind, subscribe, because the truth is always more terrifying than fiction. Until next time, stay curious and maybe stay away from waterfalls in Japan.